Hi, welcome to Gilboys YouTube channel. Please stop, don't skip forward just yet, just hold fire. I want to tell you a tiny little bit of background to the video you're going to see now, because I think it's fascinating, but I think you need a little bit more information about what or who Neil is, who is our beekeeper. Now, Neil is a fantastic man. He's so gentle and kind. He was a psychiatric nurse for 30 years, the man you're about to see. He spent a lot of his time in challenging environments, with challenging people with learning disabilities, and the antidote for all of that stress over those years was beekeeping. Now, he started off with one beehive, and now he's grown to 200 plus beehives. So I don't want you to think this is a big commercial enterprise, because it's not. It's actually one person, and it's just Neil that does this, who shows you how we get our wax and now how we get our honey. And this is the process of how it happens. I want to show you need to know that first off, because I think it's important for you to know. Anyway, go on, look at the video. I think it's amazing. I tell you, to actually be there and watch it in person was even better. They are just amazing creatures. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Neil.
You're going to need this.
I'm going to need that, thank you.
Just for protection.
All right, Neil, all togged up, ready to go.
Do you want to hold this?
All right, okay.
Just gently walk, like, just
All
gently
right,
walk
okay.
it
So the
over.
smoke goes through for what?
It just calms the bees a little if they get too excited.
Wow.
This is a baby colony. The queen's only been in here about 3 weeks. They're not fully developed.
Ian, do you want to come in and have a look at this, Ian? It'd be really quite good for you to do. Let's see this as well.
Take that out the way.
What's that?
It's a strip to stop the mites getting hold.
So they're quite calm at the moment. They're not really worried about what you're doing right now. They're too busy. Look at that.
I'm hoping we'll find the queen in this one. You can see here's the honey. There's a little bit of pollen around the edge here. It's probably gorse pollen. Have a look at it. These very young bees, you can see they're very young. They just hatched probably in the last day or so.
Really?
And the queen will lay into that area when they get up to full strength. I'll just lay this one down here.
They don't seem to be bothered by you at all.
No, they shouldn't be. So they've got plenty of food. You can see them here. Slightly least bit of honey exposed. They're on it. Right, here we'll see the brood. And there's the queen, lower left. Can you see her with the yellow dot?
Oh, yeah. So here.
Yep. She's going around looking for cells to lay eggs in. You watch her. She'll go to the empty cells.
Wow, look at that.
You might get her to lay an egg. They don't usually when they're exposed to the light, but no. She's wandering off the brood comb there. See, she'll stick her head in. She'll look for an empty cell. She may lay an egg in it. She's very calm.
She's very relaxed.
As you can see, the brood nest is a sphere, and it will expand outwards in both directions in 3D. So let's look on the back side and see if I can see. That's all worker.
These are all worker
comb.
bees?
That's all worker comb. Young queens don't lay very many drone eggs at this time of year, because they're trying to build the colony up. So there's no drones on that comb that I can see at all.
And drones are the male bees, is that right?
Drones are the male bees, yeah. Their sole purpose is to fertilise virgin queens. So she's gone back on the middle of the comb there. Still looking for somewhere to lay.
And how many eggs will she lay
She's
in it?
capable of laying over 1,000 a day, but this is a young queen, so she's only been in this hive for 3 weeks now, so she's produced all that brood in the last 3 weeks, and there was no brood in this colony when she was introduced. So you can see a worker on the bottom there with pollen.
Yes, yeah, it's just down here
on its back legs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. So looks like
That's
honey. Is this honey here?
That's honey.
But this is not honey here.
No, that's brood.
This is brood.
That's
this
the
is
larval bees.
Right. So you can clearly see the difference between the two.
Yep. Yep. If you were to take the top off those cells, you would find a small white larvae.
Off of these cells here,
Yep.
White larvae. But if you take the top of this white capping here, you'd have honey.
Yes. Yes. I can give you a little demonstration, but we'll have a look at the next comb just for comparison.
That's fantastic. So how many bees are you going to have in this one box, if you like, this one hive?
Before it's moved into a bigger box, there will probably be somewhere around 5,000 or 6,000 possibly.
5,000 or 6,000 bees. Wow.
And the full-size colonies go up to 50,000. And you can see that's a sign of a good queen. She's laid in nearly every single cell there. You know, there's very few cells with nothing in. Now, if you look at the bottom right there, you'll see the white larval bees. Can you see that? I'm not sure if you can get in close enough for that. You see like a little white varying size.
Oh, inside the actual honeycomb itself.
Yes, yes, it's not been capped over.
Right,
they're the very young larvae.
They're the very young larvae in there.
Yeah, they've hatched from eggs in the last... across the bottom there, you can see, if I tilt the comb a little bit, you can see the larval bees that she's laid more recently.
Wow.
So she'll lay an egg, and then the egg develops into larvae, and then at a certain point they cap the larvae, and the larvae pupates inside into a worker bee. They're all workers. Drone combs have a much larger have a domed capping on them.
Right. So the worker bees, these are all female bees, is that right?
These are all female bees. I can't see a single drone in this colony, but they're working away. You can see they're bringing the pollen in.
So by you extracting the honey for us, you're not damaging or hurting the bees in any way. You're not taking away their food or anything like that.
No. Well, you are taking away their food, but they always, in most years, they will store far more than they actually need. We only take off what they, the extra, if you like.
Yeah. So we only take the extra away.
Yep.
You're not sort of hurting the colony or anything like that.
It doesn't weaken the colony significantly if you take out. You know, you must leave the bees with enough for the winter. They need at least. Got to make sure the queen's. She wasn't on this one, was she? No, she has laid on this comb. I can see larval bees there now in the middle. So she's just expanded onto the third comb in this colony.
Wow.
So
that's incredible. And also, I mean, this is the wax that we use for our polish as well. So this is the wax here, and you can see it's quite dirty. But I've got a bee here, a little pet bee for the day. But how does it come cleaner? Because it comes to us as really quite yellow.
It's dirty because it appears dark brown. All comb darkens with age, but it's because the bees have walked on the comb.
Right.
So when you literally wash the wax,
just wash it,
and it'll take all these sediments out of it, and pollen. It'll take some of the pollen out of the wax, which is what colours the wax. We may find a better example of the colour of the. Just drop that back in there. I'll see if I can find you a better example of that.
It's just amazing, isn't it? Isn't that fascinating? It is incredible. Oh, look at that. See, that's look at that.
So that goes in, the wax goes in as a sheet.
Right, okay.
So you can see the sheets are wired to stop them collapsing with the heat. So that was just a plain sheet when it went in.
So you've put that in there for them?
We usually give them, when we make these up from the bigger colonies, they usually get 1 or 2 sheets of foundation for them to draw out.
Right.
It gives you a pretty good indication of how good the queen is, how quickly they'll draw the comb. And you can see there's some fresh honey there that they've stored, and they need quite a lot of energy to make the wax.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the amount of wax produced is proportionate to the amount of honey that they've collected.
Right.
So they need the honey to be nectar to be coming in before they're able to draw the wax. So it does take quite a lot of energy to produce the wax for them, and so they're working on that one, drawing the comb out.
So they're
the colony
actually sort of
expands.
building the wax cells up right now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you'll see that's all honey. So
Wow.
honey
Okay.
that's mature has been capped on the top, and there's honey they've collected in the last couple of weeks that's not capped. You see it.
Yeah, that's not capped over. Yeah.
No. They normally cap it when its water content is about 20%, roughly speaking, usually lower, but from here they go up onto holding more and collect honey quite late. And you see there's a wasp there trying to steal the honey in the middle. They
Oh.
can be quite a nuisance to the hives
Yeah.
if there's a lot of
Oh, there's a
colonies.
wasp. Yeah, get
Yeah.
out of it. It's
Yeah.
not your honey. It's
Mm.
ours. What's the bees?
We'll put that back in a minute. They're starting to get a bit, you hear them humming?
Yeah, I can.
Don't like-
They've started to get a little bit noisier.
Don't like the hive being open so long this time of year
Okay.
because they get quite defensive, so we'll close that one up. Do you want to look at another one? Or?
No, that's fine. Absolutely fine.
Cage on the top just tells me the origin of the queen,
Oh, okay.
and it's a bit archaic, but the position of the stones on each one tells me how strong they are. It's to stop drifting. The colonies, the queens, the worker bees fly out, but when they come back, if it's windy, they can disorientate. We do have the hives quite close together here,
Right.
so it can be that they fly into the wrong hive, in which case you find when they're in a straight line, you'll find that the colonies on the end pick up the odd bee and soon become stronger than all the others, which you're trying to keep them all at similar strength, really.
Brilliant.
See, this time of year, there's not too much nectar around. They're basically just making ends meet for the month of August, and then the next major honey flow will come from ivy in the autumn.
In the autumn.
Which we allow the bees to keep. This is my neighbourhood, if you like. The bees are all over this area.
Right. That was absolutely fascinating, Neil. Now, you can't take the honey from there for us, for our honey, because those are new, sort of fresh, young hives.
These will be the honey producing colonies for next summer,
next year.
2023. So I suggest we go down to Powderham and have a look at some honey production apiary, where there are 16 colonies there, and we're just preparing to take the honey off.
Perfect.
Probably this afternoon and tomorrow. There's too many boxes to take it all off in one go. They're not all full, but there's a lot of.
And they're much bigger than these.
These are much bigger colonies than these. Yes.
And they are just down here. Are
They should be down in the valley there, nearer to the River Exe.
Near to the River Exe there. Wow,
courtesy of the Powderham estate.
that's wonderful. Right, well, let's go. Brilliant, thank you.
Wow, this is properly in the middle of nowhere. So these are the big hives. So this is the honey producing hives for this year.
Correct.
And
yeah.
these are much bigger than what we've just seen.
Yeah. These contain about 50 to 70,000 bees at the moment. The populations are declining at the moment because as we head into autumn. But the summer honey crop is still on, and we're about to start taking it off.
So you say 50 to 70,000 bees, what, in total here? Or
In each box.
in each box? And when you're saying each one of these boxes, or in each box?
No, the entire.
So there's 70,000. So you got...
On average.
You got, my God, so you've got probably over 1 million bees here.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. So the honey we're going to extract now, or we're going to look at, you've taken already this year. So is this
This is the second crop. The spring crop was taken off at the beginning of June, and then the boxes returned, and then during July they haven't filled them, but they've put honey in most of these boxes.
Wow.
It's not an outstanding year due to the drought, but you can't control the weather.
No, you can't control the weather. No. And again, these bees look quite happy with us here. They're not.
Yeah, they're nice and docile, and as you can see, they're hunting around the hives for a bit of free honey, but hopefully we'll get the surplus.
Right.
So
Wonderful.
they'll be left with plenty of honey in the bottom box. The weights of the bottom boxes going into winter is critical, but generally they collect enough honey in this area, especially later on from the ivy, which will allow them to they keep the ivy honey, and that's the mainstay of their winter food.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Let's have a look inside.
So the bees should have been cleared from this box. So we should get only 1 or 2 bees. We should be able to look at a comb. Please don't fall apart. There we are. Pretty good comb.
Wow. That's a much smaller comb.
Yeah, they're very difficult to. A brood frame would be too heavy
Too heavy.
to deal with.
Right. Okay.
You know, this not a perfectly drawn comb, but you can see there's lots of honey in there. You can feel
Wow.
the weight of it.
Wow. So that's really. I mean, how many jars of honey? How many
There's
pounds of
probably
weight?
about 4 or 5 pounds of weight in that one.
4 or 5 pounds of weight.
Totally, the boxes can weigh up to 35 pounds to 40 pounds if they're completely full. But generally what you find is that the frames in the middle are quite full, but the frames on the outside often aren't completely filled. So. But we'll take this box off now and take it back to see what we've got.
Right. So
Generally the honey at this time of year, the summer crop in this area will be bramble, clover and sweet chestnut. We get a lot of sweet chestnut honey. But, due to the drought this year, the clover hasn't yielded so well, but there's not a lot you can do about that.
bramble, clover, chestnut, sweet chestnut.
Yeah.
Ian, can you see that? I mean, just that's incredibly heavy. So you can extract the honey a few times a year, but only the wax once a year.
Twice. The cappings when we open the comb up to get the honey, the cappings come off and they'll get melted down.
So we're going to take this
We're
box
actually going to take this box.
back to your workshop,
Yeah.
and hopefully we'll extract some honey and maybe some wax as well.
Certainly will. Ooh, it's a heavy one. This was a new queen, so the colony's full of young bees going into autumn. Should make a good honey producer next spring.
And how long do these bees live? So these are all females.
Summer bees, summer worker bees, will live for about 6 weeks because they work so hard.
Really? 6
The
weeks.
winter bees, the bees born from sort of now onwards, will live much longer. So they don't work so hard, so they're not worn out so
Right.
quick. Is
They
one
sort
way
of
to
work
put it.
themselves to death.
Yes,
Death.
I'm afraid they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yes, they do work very hard. And again, no drones to be seen. Young queen, she's laid lots of worker eggs. She's built this colony up from 6 frames to 10 frames in the course of about 4 weeks. And they haven't been fed at all to stimulate them. They do it naturally. And you know, we end up with the raw honey as the product. So
Wow.
this one was the smallest colony. Was the smallest colony here. So we only produced 1 full box of honey and 1 half box. So that's considering that, you know, they were only a baby colony. They've done quite well. The bigger colonies have 4 or 5 boxes of honey, and as you've seen, they're almost like skyscrapers. They're quite difficult to get the honey off when there's
They
so
are.
many bees in there.
And how do you tell the difference between? And you say there's you immediately said there was no drones in there. Obviously, there are different size of bee. They are a bigger bee. The drone.
Drones are larger and squatter. They have a much wider abdomen,
Right.
and
What's going on in here?
they're sticking everything together. If you listen, when I prise that box, you hear that click and
Yeah.
sound? That's where they're propolising.
That propolis. Is that?
Propolis, yes.
So-
you can see this is propolis.
So it's their glue. It's
They
their
glue,
sort of.
it's the
It's
big
their
glue.
construction material that the bees create,
yeah,
and that's different to obviously the wax and the honey.
Yeah.
But they create that themselves.
they collect. It's a secretion that they collect from trees generally, from it,
It's like sap.
like
or-
sap that they concentrate it and turn it into bee glue, if you like. It glues everything together, seals all the cracks and the corners, and they actually paint the wooden surfaces with it to keep it antibacterial.
Wow.
It's
But us, humans, we don't really use propolis or anything because we're going in.
we do. I think they use it in toothpastes and it's used in some mouthwashes, I think, and things like that. Natural, herbal remedy mouthwashes. And I think they used to use it in old days, maybe to treat wounds and things. It's not something I've ever harvested. I leave it for the bees to sort with. So.
Brilliant. It's just lovely. I mean, these towers, they're huge. So we're going to take this honey now, all these frames, back to your workshop, Neil. But I can see there's bees all over them. I mean, speaking of bees, and we're going to take them to your workshop. What's their range? If we were to take bees back to your workshop, which is not too far away from here, would they fly back here? I mean, what's the range of the bees?
Yeah, the honey in these boxes will have been collected, the vast majority of it, within a mile of the apiary. They will go further if there's a good nectar source, honey source, but generally within a mile's radius of here. So
Is that?
it's very localised.
Because otherwise they're expending too much energy flying to get nectar
Yes.
to bring it back. Otherwise, it's sort of counterproductive. You need,
Yes.
if it's close by, it makes perfect sense.
Yes, yes. They're able to do the calculation as to what's the most efficient nectar to go and collect. So, you know, they will go further for good nectar sources than a mile, but generally, broadly speaking, about a mile's
mile.
radius. You know, so if you draw a circle around here of a mile, the bees have mostly collected the honey from there. They will go further, but generally it's a mile, within a mile. And
Wow.
the bees will find their way back here. As we move the box, the bees that are in it will leave and will fly back to the hive as we depart.
They're so clever, aren't they? It's just brilliant. So if I pick up this box,
You might find it heavier than you expect.
Whoa, that is heavy. Right, here you go. Let's go.
You're doing too many takes carrying that one.
Look at that. So now, just go through what you're doing there, Neil. So
The honey is capped on the majority of the comb, so now we're going to remove the cappings so that we expose the honey so that it will come out when we spin it.
So this is the white capping wax over the honey.
Yeah.
Look at that, it's oozing with honey.
So sometimes you can't use the knife, you have to use the fork because this is the new frame, so they haven't fully drawn it out.
So this white cappings wax here, you keep that, but that doesn't come to us, does it, for making our beeswax polish? That goes to somebody else.
No, you get the majority of the cappings.
Do we?
Yep. It's the purest form of the honey, and see the raw honey that we extract.
It's the purest form of the wax.
And this is the purest form of the wax. This does the least damage to the comb, to be honest, because the bees reuse it. You know, the honey will be spun out, and then next year the bees will clean all the comb up and hopefully put honey in it again next year.
Simply, fingers crossed. So now we're going to put this in a, I'll move out of your way, in this giant drum. And this spins the frames with the honeycomb in and separates out the honey, which spins it out to the side, sort of centrifugal force, I suppose, and it throws it to the side. It settles in the bottom of here. I can see it in here. I don't know if you can see that in here, Ian. Look at that. And then you tap it off at the bottom and it gets filtered, but pretty much this is the raw honey.
There's no heat at all applied to this honey.
And it's heat, so some beekeepers, I've read some of it, they pasteurise it or they treat, is that what it is, the heat treatment?
I think it's quite common practice in some countries to pasteurise the honey, but you know that's not.
But you don't do that.
That's not.
You don't do that. So our honey is not pasteurised.
No.
Has nothing else. As you see, it comes straight in here and it's spun.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It does have to be filtered to remove, bits of wax, large pieces of wax. But all the pollen and the honey is completely untreated.
So all the enzymes, all those nice things that we really want from the honey is kept. and the pollen is in here. So,
Yeah, and there will be minute traces of pollen. We've just sent a sample away for testing by the British government, and they'll send us a reply next year and tell us exactly what the honey is that's in there, but those results won't come for a while. And you see the honey coming out to the side of the drum.
So you've seen the entire process of how the honey is produced and where we get it from, also our beeswax. Now this honey has been filtered 3 times, cold filtered 3 times, and it's going to go, hopefully, if I get this right. Look at that. There's the first jar of our honey, Gilboys honey. If only you could smell what we can smell in here. You can't really have that. And in the end, you've got a bee just resting on you, so just be aware. Be aware. I hope you found that as fascinating as we did. I've actually edited quite a lot out because, well, it could have gone on for hours and hours of just staring at bees. It was the most wonderful experience. And I hope now you understand why we're having the honey from Neil. It made perfect sense for us as a furniture restoration company who supplies beeswax polishes and other things like that to move on to the honey. Now, one thing I think he didn't mention there is how he doesn't really use any chemicals to look after or treat the bees. So Neil practices an organic sort of, it can't be a whole organic, can't be completely organic, but the organic principles of beekeeping, because you can't keep an eye on where the bees are going because they might go to somewhere that's not organic. But the way he cares for them and looks after them, it's all about the bees. It's really, I mean, yes, the products are great, but it's about the bees. And that's shown by what we were there. Do you see how calm those bees were? And that's because Neil is very, very specific on what queens he gets, which then can lead to a really nice and calm hive or apiary. Some of you who are regular viewers or also buyers of our polishes may be asking the question, I thought you get all your stuff from Buckfast Abbey. Well, Neil was recommended by Buckfast Abbey because we outgrew Buckfast Abbey quite quickly actually, because they're not a commercial enterprise in any way. They don't sell any of their honey, they don't sell any of their wax apart from to us. And we take all of that wax, we still do. It goes into the polishes, but it's also, we put into it now some of the wax that Neil produces because it's produced in exactly the same way as the Abbey does. It's all about looking after the bees, and that is why we've gone for the honey as well, because the honey produced in that caring way with those bees, you're going to have the best honey what you can buy. I hope you enjoyed watching that video, and I hope you enjoy eating Gilboys honey.